Hola, tácticas peatonales aquí. Today I'm going to show you how I made my track Traditional Computer Solo with David Timko, who goes by Luminyst, once I finish making coffee. I wanted to start on the second drop of this because I made this little guitar out of saw waves, which was really fun, and it satisfied all of my childhood Linkin Park desires. If you've worked with saw waves in Operator, you probably can see what's going on. I have two versions of this that are happening depending on what key is being played. So a lower note will trigger a saw wave, and then a higher note will trigger a square wave, because when you have those like higher harmonics on a guitar, they kind of turn into square waves. So actually it happens right. Yeah, right? I was really happy with that sound. I listened to a bunch of songs that had sort of like a wall of guitar and tried to replicate that sort of wall of guitar noise. That happens later in the song, like right here. Single saw wave, right, in Operator, and then right after that is a chorus, and that's affecting both the high harmonic one and then the lower harmonic one. So that's why it's outside of the group. And then that chorus is creating some variability. And then you got Ableton's pedal and Ableton's amp, and then another chorus, and then a saturator, and then some EQ3s. I'm just kind of like patching on things on top of each other to try to create a sound. I didn't have a plan for this design from the start. I just kind of started piling things on until it sounded okay. See, it goes and I could spend a ton of time with the waveform trying to achieve this effect, but just splattering little MIDI notes in there to create some variability helps make the sound more human, I guess. Let me tell you about my sidechain process, because it's labeled SE for sidechain, but I've been doing this for quite a few songs, is that I just manually paint the whole thing, and I can get more control doing that. I'm working on a song right now that I actually just use a sidechain compressor because it's easier. It's like a 4 on the floor house track. But this one I was like kind of trying to cram a bunch of loud sounds together into one sonic scape. So turning some of them explicitly off and on using an automation was key. So I talk about this in other tutorials, but this is my favorite thing ever, and it's dumb that it's my favorite thing, but ducking utility. It's a utility that maps from 0 to negative infinity, and it has that on the little like mapping chain so that you can just turn it up and down, and it will go from 100% to 0%. So it makes it very easy to draw curves from 100 to 0. The sidechain group is doing two things. One is it's ducking most of the instrumental bits, except the drums. And then it's also specifically canceling out the low end so that there's a lot of room for the kick. So that's why there's two here. One hits when the kick does, and the other one's just for the snare. You can see the kick, a lot of room is made for the kick. And the way I do that is with 3 chains that isolate each band using a multi-band dynamics, because I found that to be really clean. So the mid, high, and low are soloed in each chain. Oops. There we go. Now you can see it. So there's the low and there's the mid. And then I have the ducking utility placed on the low end. This is the first drop.
Take a walk outside and listen to the computer.
And those two pre-drop voices are, I'm not going to even talk about that. What I spent most of my time on in this song was the MIDI notes. Let me go back. This whole song started as a collaboration between David Timko and I. And he sent me a track that he was working on that was a much slower tempo, similar melody, and I kind of like punted on it for a really long time. I couldn't figure out like how to insert some of my own sound in there. And eventually I took the melody and I just like remade a new track on a completely different tempo line. And then we decided to go with that. And then he built some sounds that he inserted into this track that are interweaved into it. And it became what it is now. Oh, whoops. My personal inspiration besides his track, came from trying to reduce my own songs previously. I used to have songs with, hundreds of layers that made them up, and I felt like I was sort of filling the space constantly. This was both exhausting from a production perspective, but I think it also introduced a lot of, there's this concept called horror vacui from the Victorian era, where they used to put fleur-de-lis and all these crazy things on every possible surface that they could. And horror vacui means fear of empty space. Over time in production, I found that to be extremely exhausting. This was inspired by the idea of trying to make one specific instrument fill the need for many instruments. I visited Stanley Park one time in Canada, and there was this guy at a viewpoint, this beautiful vista, playing an erhu, I think that's how it's pronounced. And he sold CDs that obviously if you bought the CD, you knew you were just getting a solo of an erhu. It wasn't anything else. And that was cool. It was like a solo from that. So I was like, what would that be for a computer? So to try to make this melody more human and interesting, I turned off the grid and then just plugged in notes and added little extra notes as if someone was kind of like stumbling across on the keyboard, but also trying to hit logical accent notes that someone might hit if they were doing a vocal or an instrument solo. Right at the end of that drop in the melody, it goes to an even lower note, so it kind of drops off really quickly. And then right before the next melody, this other note hits, but because I have it on monophonic glide, it's gliding from this note to this note immediately. So most of the time was spent actually in the MIDI editor for this track rather than trying to over-engineer the sounds. I love this little I swear I've heard something like this with bagpipes or something. I tried this other thing between sections that I'd never done before, and it was really fun. It kind of sounds like the whole song goes into compressed MP3 and then kind of glitches out. And I realized that you'd get these weird artifacts. So this is the master channel, right? There's a shifter right there, which is a pitch shifter plugin. So I'm going to turn this off. And I realized basically if you take the song and you turn it down an entire octave, it sounds weird and muffled. But to make it not sound like it was turned an octave down, I took major elements, so the main melody, and I turned them an octave up inside the MIDI editor. So without the shifter, it sounds like this. Okay. So turning the shifter on, right when the melody goes an octave up, I turn the shifter an octave down on the master channel. So the entire thing gets weird. And then there's this weird, it all comes to a head and there's a tiny little glitch sound that happens afterwards. And that's because I took this entire track from the master and resampled it. So this is just what I just played for you, but I just resampled it into another track and then just kind of reversed and messed with it. So you get this. And then it goes back. Anyway, that was a fun little detail. I hope that makes you as happy as me. Probably not, but hey, there's a Glock sound. Oh, yep, that's a Glock sound. What happened here? Oh, okay, so this is also from Corporate's Ice. This is literally just the... If you've heard my track Ice, that's just the intro. I just slammed it right in there. Hopefully Shazam won't catch that and pick up the wrong song.
Oh, shit!
If you can identify this sample, big kudos. I'll send you a thank you note or something if you comment what it's from.
Holy shit!
I think I'll break down this bass in another video. Sorry. God, I hate making tutorials. Oh, I'm still recording. Just kidding. I'm gonna make another video for the bass. If you have any other instruments you'd like me to break down from that track, I'll throw that in the video if you comment down below as well. Peace.